Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, February 23rd, 2018. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by the one and only Steve Helwagen. Steve, Ohio State will travel to Indiana tonight for a big hoops matchup. The game will tip just past 8 p.m. Will be televised by FS1. You will be there covering it, of course. Now, if the Buckeyes win and Michigan State loses at Wisconsin on Sunday, Ohio State will be co-champions of the Big Ten. How cool would that be? But, Steve, this is kind of an unusual time for a game. I kind of like it, though. I mean, Friday night, Ohio State basketball. I mean, I can't recall too many Friday night Ohio State basketball games during Big Ten play over the years, Steve, especially with this much on the line.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think Jim Delaney, as part of the new television contract that involved Fox, they gave Fox and really more Fox Sports 1, the cable channel, a Friday night package, which had not been done. And so some weeks they've even had back-to-back games on Friday night. But I believe this is the first one Ohio State's played in during the Big Ten season. And, it's a biggie at Indiana, a team that's 3 games over 500 for the year, 16-13. Indiana also needs this win to finish above 500 in the Big Ten at 10-8. So, they've got a couple seniors who start in the backcourt, Robert Johnson and Newkirk, and those guys playing their last regular season game at Indiana. Still the prospect, maybe they'll host an NIT game, but that they want to end their season and end their home careers on a big note, and I just wonder if this is an Iowa football type setup that Ohio State's walking into, given how poorly the Buckeyes played on the road the last 2 times at Penn State and at Michigan. I don't think you can take anything for granted. And I know the odds makers, I looked at an early line, was Ohio State -1.5. So they're basically saying this is a pick-em type game between Ohio State, which has the Big Ten championship possibility. I mean, they need some real big help out of Wisconsin, but the Badgers did beat Purdue at home a few weeks ago, so maybe they can spring one on the Spartans, although I would think the Spartans are going to be on guard after the falling behind Northwestern by 27 points. Dave, that was the one we needed. we didn't get it.
I know, man.
Yeah. So close, so far away, but still a remarkable first year for Chris Holtmann. 23 wins, the most ever by a first-year OSU head coach. 14 Big Ten wins. They've only had 4 seasons in the history of OSU basketball with more Big Ten wins. So it is really some heady stuff that they've pulled off.
It's been awesome. It's just been so much fun to watch, and hopefully they can find a way to win that Big Ten title and always have their year up in the rafters there at the shot. It's been a great year for Bates-Diop, to say the least, and there's been some talk maybe his hand or wrist is injured. He was wearing a wrap. He took it off this past game. He still looks very good defensively to me. He looks good on the glass. This is why I'm not buying the he's tired argument. But offensively, Steve, as you analyze it, are you concerned about KBD, or you think this is just kind of a blip on the radar for him?
I think you have to be a little bit concerned because he's not been as efficient offensively the last 3 games as he was during that big tear. All those huge games he had one after another. He's had a lot of shots go in and out. He was the hard luck guy, I think, there on Tuesday night against Rutgers. He ended up 3 of 11, 6 points, but did have 8 rebounds, 3 assists. So he still finds a way to put his fingerprints on the game, and he plays as hard as he can and did the best he could, but he only came back with 6 points, which I think was the lowest he's had all season. He's only been held below 10 a couple of times. I think he's still the Big Ten Player of the Year, and we'll get all that information on Monday or Tuesday, I guess, with the all Big Ten teams. I can't imagine anybody but him winning that award. But, again, I think for Chris Holtmann, I think he'd love to see Cada bounce back and have a big game at Indiana going into the postseason. And, Dave, here's a thought. We talk about this team, almost running out of gas or whatever with the way – they didn't even offer a fight at Penn State last week, and at Michigan they spit the bit after about 31, 32 minutes. But, I think it really works to their favor having this early last game on Friday, because some of these teams will be playing through Sunday. And now Ohio State does not have to play in the tournament next week at Madison Square Garden until Friday. So that's a full week off, and then when the tournament's over, they'll have 10 full days before their first NCAA game, whether it's Thursday, Friday, whatever. So I am excited about seeing this team get rejuvenated and charged back up. And we talked to Chris Holtman a little bit about that, and you can see his interview. We've got the preview for the game up and everything already, so you can check out the interviews from right there.
Cam Williams, it was really good to see him play well the other night against Rutgers on senior night. I mean, they're really going to need his scoring, Steve, if they're going to, make any type of, I don't even say a deep run in the tournament, but, even to get to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. They're going to need Cam Williams. It was good to see his confidence and good to see the way he played overall.
I agree with you 100% because when he's able to chip in anywhere from 8 to 15 points, my guess is they've won most of those games. So, he came back and didn't play very well, Penn State or Michigan. They lose both games. So, for him to I said to somebody, I think it was in my preview of the game, I said, I really want to see Cam Williams come out and hit that first three and make that thing where he's pointing his three fingers at his head and all that whole hullabaloo that he loves to do. I got to tell you, he pulled one out of the South Rec League the other night. I was in an intramural game in 1988, Dave, and we were playing 3s and 2s, and we got a steal. They got the ball out to me, and I said, well, heck with it. Nobody's coming back with me. Forget the 2. I went to the right corner, and I shot, and I made a three-pointer, and all my teammates are like, what are you doing? I said, we're playing 3s and 2s. It's a three-point shot. I got us 3 points. Well, Cam kind of passed up a layup the other night in an actual Big Ten basketball game, although it did involve Rutgers. So, I don't know if you
I love it. That was very much a rec league shot right there, an intramural shot. He's got that in his game, man. I've called him Jamie Skelton 2.0. He can go off at any time. He can get you 0 points at any time. So that was good to see out of him.
Put an asterisk by it. It happened. It's like the D'Angelo Russell triple-double there from a few years ago. Yes, it did happen in what was billed as a Big Ten game, but it was at Rutgers. Please put a star by it. So, there you go.
Doesn't really count if it happened against Rutgers. I love it. One more basketball question, then we'll move on to some football to close the show. All right, let me put the scenario to you. Let's say they beat Indiana tonight, and let's say they go 1-1 in the Big Ten tournament, so they get to the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament, then lose. That would give them an overall record of 25-8 this season, Steve. In that scenario, what seed do you think they would get in the NCAA tournament?
Dave, I think it would be partially dependent on what other people do over the week that follows. See, that's the thing is Ohio State's body of work, as well as Michigan State, Purdue, Michigan, Nebraska. I think Penn State's out after losing at home to Michigan. I don't think they come back from that. But, Nebraska's got an outside shot, I think, at a berth. They're right around 50 in RPI. The others are in shoe-ins already, even if they go lose the next 2 games. So I would say best-case scenario under a 1-1, figuring they beat Indiana, then beat whoever on Friday, and then probably lose to Michigan State or Purdue on Saturday, probably Purdue. I would say the best-case scenario is a 4 if things fall their way elsewhere, more likely a 5. And we were talking about this today in interviews. All of the 4 seeds are probably going to come, it seems, from the eastern half of the United States and will probably be shipped out to play in San Diego or Boise. And if you're a 5 seed, you also get shipped with that 4 seed wherever they go. So either as a 4 or as a 5, they're probably going to Boise or San Diego. And this brings up my question is, why is the NCAA having games in places you can't get to, like Boise? That makes no sense. It's a television show. Just book an arena in one of the major 20 markets and play it there from now on, because they don't need to be playing the stupid games in Boise. That's just ridiculous. So Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Denver, wherever there's an NFL team, you are allowed to play NCAA games going forward. This is ridiculous that they're sending us to freaking Boise, but that's probably what's going to happen.
The Boise, Idaho Chamber of Commerce will not have Steve Helwagen on their Christmas card list this year, so that's breaking news here on the Bucknuts Morning 5.
I don't want to go there. Never been there, don't want to go there. Their field is blue. Kirk Herbstreit likes them. They are proven.
Good transition to football there with the blue field and a little bit of Herbie. Let's talk, spring football is going to kick off here. We're all talking about basketball, rightfully so. It's exciting right now. I mean, Chris Holtman's really just brought back that vibe, and everything he else has done. I mean, that's just the one biggest takeaway I have is, like, basketball is back in Columbus. But let's talk a little football with spring football kicking off here in a couple weeks. Other than quarterback, we'll take that off the table. We talked about this on Wednesday's show as well. But taking away the obvious, Steve, what storyline or storylines interest you the most this spring for the Buckeyes?
I'll hit you with a couple. I think offensive line, because offensive line play is going to dictate how good this team is going to be, in my opinion. I think there are some questions on defense, but I think when it's nut crunching time and you got to convert a 3rd and 1, or you got to pass protect on 3rd and 10 against a good opponent, that's going to be the key. And I think the offensive line, you got to fill a couple spots. The center spot, is one of the key spots, obviously. And you lost your left tackle as well. I think you lost your two primary spots on the offensive line. If you got a right-handed quarterback, it's the left tackle and the center position. So to me, that's those two. They got to figure out a plan for that. And then I think over on defense, I know we had a note today about Dante Booker, or rather Friday in the boarding house. And I would agree. I think that at the linebacker core, they're starting from scratch, although Tough Borland did come on at the end. He'd be the one I would pencil in first, and then I'd say all of their jobs and all of their positions are open, and if we feel that Tough Borland should play outside linebacker instead of middle linebacker, then so be it. But it seems to me like he'll be the middle backer, and they'll fill in two other guys. But I'd say those two areas, because I think they're going to be okay. Otherwise, I think the corners got some valuable experience. I thought Jordan Fuller was very underrated at safety last year. I thought he had a great year. I think he ended up 2nd or 3rd on the team in tackles. So, and he had a couple picks too. So yeah, I'm bullish on the defense. Cautiously optimistic that the skill position on offense will rule the day, and get some help at offensive line, linebacker, and let's go win that old conference now, as they say, Dave.
Heck yeah. Send the earth reverberating. Love that. Yep. Steve Helwagen will be in Bloomington tonight, as we said, so for the big game. Friday night fights, Buckeyes at Indiana. So, again, that game will be on FS1 tonight. Steve will be there. So keep it locked to Bucknuts for coverage of that. Thank you very much to the wisdom of Steve Helwagen. Appreciate all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.